Hey now, cats, we're back again this week, and with me today, I have a very special guest. He's one of the greatest character actors in the business, a writer, a producer, a teacher. Please say hello to C Ernst Harth. How are you?
I'm doing good. Thanks for having me.
No problem, man. But like before I delve into your career a little bit, sir, I actually want to know. I want to start off by taking a little bit to get to know you first. Like, how
Okay.
did you start out? Where did you grow up? Or you're Canadian, correct?
Yeah, I grew up in Galt, Ontario, small town, probably about an hour east of Toronto. Everyone sort of knows Toronto, Ontario. And I grew up there, family, three siblings, myself, my mom and dad. And my dad was a draftsman and an engineer. My
Wow.
mom worked in a shoe factory and was a homemaker. And I was just a big kid, always into goofiness and acting silly around the house and what have you. And once I got into school, I realized that you know acting silly and being goofy, there was an outlet for it. There, they had school plays and assemblies and drama and all that kind of stuff. And I got involved with doing all that kind of stuff. The story I like to tell is how it all started, and that was I went to school, and the school that I started in kindergarten, uh, they had a tradition that I didn't know about before I went there. Was every year they had like a Christmas pageant, and it was kindergarten to grade 5, and every year they would have the largest kid in the school play Santa Claus in this Christmas pageant. Uh, I don't know if you get away with that nowadays, but
I don't think so.
so the year I attended, unbeknownst to me, little old kindergartner gets called to the office thinking he's in trouble, and it turns out that I'm the biggest kid in the school this year, even though I'm in kindergarten. The school goes to grade 5, and I'm being asked if I would like to play Santa Claus in the school pageant, and uh, I didn't know anything about acting or being on stage or anything, because I'm in kindergarten. I'm a kid. I'm just like to play, right? So what do I know? I said, okay. It wasn't until we started rehearsing and practicing that it started to clue into me that, wait, everybody on stage with me is in grade 4 and grade 5. And I'm like the king of the castle here. I'm like sitting on top of the mountain in my little Santa throne waiting to be presented at the end. And they're all acting towards me, and I'm like in kindergarten. I'm sitting there, and as the audience is laughing and all the attention is on me, because by the end of the play, it's like, I'm the center focus being Santa Claus. And it was just like a light went on, and it was like, wow. It's like all the attention you seek from your parents, all the stuff. Look what I can do. Look what I all that kind of stuff as a kid. And all of a sudden it just hit me. I was like, wow, I could get used to this. I like this feeling of having this whole room of people laughing towards me, and not laughing at me, but laughing, with me or because of what I'm doing. Because, being the biggest kid in the school, right from kindergarten on through my whole childhood, um, it's cool looking back, but then it was not cool. It was like every kid in the school picked on me. Even in kindergarten, I remember looking at old report cards, and it would say things like, the kids think that he acts immature. He acts immature because I was so much bigger. Even kids got it in their head that I was like 2, 3 years older than them, yet I was acting, like them. I was acting like a normal 5-year-old, but because I was the size of somebody in grade 5, like by the time I went to grade 6, I was 6'3", 286.
Oh,
So
yeah, I was always a big kid too, man, and I always got bullied and picked on, so I totally get it. But I mean,
yeah,
whenever you did the Santa Claus thing, though, is that where you would say you found your passion for acting? Is that where
yeah,
you got the bug?
yeah, because like I said before, then I just a silly clown, just being a kid playing. You don't even know what acting is, and then all of a sudden you're plopped into this like the universe is taking you, put you up on this stage, and it was just like, oh, I know what I want to do now. And then throughout school, I did school assemblies, I did plays and skits, and then got involved with drama, did community theater, did some improv. When I was in high school, a student and I we put together a little improv group, and then we would go once a week to the old age homes and nursing homes, and sorry, we would do like improv games, like whose line it is anyway, kind of things
Oh,
with the
cool.
seniors, because as it turned out, many of them don't get visitors. A lot of them are just put there to wait to die, kind of sadly.
That is
And so
sad.
we came in once a week and just put a smile on their face and got them to make sounds of animals and just stuff to keep them active and have some fun and some laughter.
Oh
And
man,
it
that's
was
great.
also, and my I was just glad because I was getting out of school, because it was almost like a co-op thing. It's like we were getting credit for doing stuff like that in the afternoons, going over there. But that also helped with my improv and my love of performing and everything. And then in grade when I was out of high school, I was sitting at a diner one day with my friend, and he says, "What do you want to do today?" And I said, he says, "You want to go to Vancouver?" I had no idea what Vancouver was, where Vancouver was. I mean, Canada's 6 time zones. It's a pretty big country, right? So I had no idea as a 19-year-old where Vancouver was. I said, sure, okay, because I had nothing to do. I was on student welfare. I was basically living on my own. And so we grabbed our stuff, put our stuff in a bag, jumped on a Greyhound bus, and 4.5 days later, we were at the complete other end of Canada on the West Coast. And I remember getting to 4.5 days. That's a long bus ride, let me tell you. Four and a
I bet.
four, especially when it's like, this is daytime, this is nighttime, this is day.
I have the
And
bladder of a 3-year-old girl, so I can never do that. I
oh my
mean,
God, at least they had the little bathroom at the back. But people say, oh wow, that must have been great. You got to see all of Canada. So I got to see the bus stations in all the big cities, and that's about it. Everything else, and of course, we traveled through the majority of it is the prairies in the center, just like in America. So that, of course, was when we traveled in the daytime. So it'd be like you'd fall asleep, you'd sleep for 6 hours, you'd open your eyes, and it looked exactly the same
like
outside the
nothing
window.
changed.
No. So we ended up in Vancouver, and I was 19, and I remember getting off the bus and looking around, like, well, this is Vancouver, now what? And he says, like, he had been here a few years earlier and had lived basically in Skid Row in the old bars and the rubby part of town. And so that was all he really knew of Vancouver. So that's where we ended up. And being my size, the first thing I did was walked into the first bar I saw. And when you don't need a resume when you're my size, you just walk into a bar and go, "Hi, you need a bouncer? You need a doorman? I'm looking for a job." And that's what I did. And unfortunately, it was like 10 o'clock in the morning, and the bar was empty, but he was in there cleaning and everything. And we just knocked on the door, and he turns around and says, "Oh, I'm sorry, I don't need any doorman." I said, "Okay, no problem." And I turned around to leave, and he says, "I just need a DJ." And just then, the little acting bug in me, the performer in me kicks in. Now, granted, I've never been in a DJ booth. I don't know what a DJ does other than play music. I know nothing about DJing, but in that moment, I stopped, I turned around, and I just started to name off every nightclub that I've ever visited in Ontario. And it's like, well, aren't you in luck? Because I used to be the head DJ at Stages nightclub and at the Twist. And I started naming all these clubs. And he goes, really? I said, yeah, I just assumed, I could get a job as a doorman, but if you really need a job you need someone to be a DJ, I'm your man. He goes, oh, great. Thank you. Thank you. He says, you come back at 6 p.m. You meet Ali. He's our head DJ, and you have a talk with him. I said, okay. So now, like I said, it's 10 a.m. in the morning. We leave, my friend and I, and we walk around downtown. We go get something to eat, and we're basically just killing time till 6 o'clock. I go back at 6 o'clock. Now the bar's open. It's just jumping crazy. And it wasn't until I walked in then that I realized it was a strip club, because it was just an empty bar when we were there in the morning. I never even looked into the bar really. So I didn't even look to see
There
there
was
was
no
a
naked people as far as the eye could see.
It was completely empty. It was just, I admit there might have been a janitor in the back. But I don't even remember because I was so focused on our conversation. And So I walk in and I see the music and the lights are flashing and the guys are cheering and the waitress are going around. And so I go up to the bartender and I ask for Ollie, and he says he's in the DJ booth, which really was just a hole that had been carved out of like a supply closet at the back of the bar. And so it was like it was like a walkway like this. I had to slide in sideways, squeeze through this hole in the wall. I get inside this little storage room, and they've got a window just like the window on the screen of the box around us. There's like a window that big cut
Oh
out of the
man.
back wall of the bar. And so you look through that and you can see at the other side of the bar, you could see the dancer on stage. And he says to me, "Hi, are you Tiny?" And that was the name I used on living on the streets back then, was Tiny, because so funny, big guy, Tiny, whatever. People are original with their nicknames.
I
And
can't
I said,
talk. I'm balls.
so, so I said to him, uh, "Hi, yeah, I'm Tiny. I'm here about the DJ." He goes, "Oh, you're here for the DJ? Yeah, okay, great. Um, I'll see you at midnight." And he leaves. I've never been in a DJ booth. I don't know what a DJ does. Never mind what a DJ does at this bar. Music's blaring. There's a woman on stage stripping. Place is banging. Lights are flashing. And he leaves. And I'm standing in this DJ booth by myself, looking around, trying to get the sense of what I'm looking at here. I noticed there's like a control board with some knobs on it. There's a couple tape decks, because that's how old I am, and a couple cassette tape decks and a microphone in front of me. And all of a sudden I notice, hey, it's really quiet in here all of a sudden. Wow, there's no music playing or nothing. And I don't know if you've ever been in a club, a nightclub, whatever, when the music's off, all you can hear is the lights. So all you can hear through the whole club is as all the lights are changing colors. And then I'm like, oh. And it just all of a sudden occurred to me, oh yeah, I'm the DJ. I
I'm
should
gonna
do
play
something
music.
about this. So I look down at the board and I see the two knobs, and next to the one switch, it says MIC1. And I wasn't born yesterday. I know what MIC stands for. So I take the knob and I pull it all the way up to the top. And throughout the whole bar, all you hear is guys are diving and ducking for cover, and their ears are. And I'm like, I bring it back down till it stops making that noise. And I go, and in my brain, I'm trying to remember the couple times I've been in a strip club. What did they say? What did they say? Trying to remember what I heard. And I go, okay, guys, let's hear it for that was and now I'm looking
Team
around.
member Candy.
I'm looking around for a piece of paper with a name or something, because I don't know who's on stage. Okay, guys, that was
Naked
and
Woman
all of a
number
sudden,
two.
because I'm not used to being in front of a microphone, I forget that everything I say they can hear, right? So I'm like, oh fuck, shit, what's her name? God damn it. And from the other side of the bar, through the little hole in the window, I look up, there's a woman naked, hands on her hips, and she goes, LaDonna.
I bet you never forgot that one.
No. Well, no, here we are. I still know this. And so I go, okay, guys, let's hear it for LaDonna. And all of a sudden the guys go, shower, 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 shower. And because they had like a champagne glass with like a ball that the water squirted, and they could go into the thing and start doing a shower, right? Because
Wow,
it's
that's crazy. It's like
fully
flash
naked and
dance, only
everything.
like smutty.
Yeah. So I'm like, oh, I just figured out how the microphone works. Now, how does the shower work? And I look over and I see a button that says shower. So I press the button and the water starts squirting up out of this champagne glass. And I get I go, okay, guys. Well, it looks like you guys want to have some shower time. So let's hear it for LaDonna and her shower. And I look over and I'm like, oh, I should probably play some music. And I look over at the tape deck. There's tape 1, tape 2, and I notice there's a cassette tape in deck 1. And I press the button for play on deck 1. I push up deck 1 on the slider thing. And what I didn't know was that the DJ earlier must have faded off of that song So when I pressed play, it goes do, 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 do. I'm standing there. She, she's like got 1 foot over the thing as she's stepping into the shower. And I go, okay, guys, there you go. LaDonna. Let's hear it for LaDonna. And she's like, what the hell is going on? I'm already like telling her to get off the stage. And the guys are like, what? And this was like a total nightmare. And by the time Ali showed up at midnight, 6 hours later, he comes walking in and all he sees is, okay, guys, remember why you're feeding those hungry eyes. We can also quench those thirsty lips. We got eyeballs, 275. We've got shooters, $5. Now stick around because coming up next, we have the luscious LaDonna. It's
Like, oh man.
it's like within 6 hours, I figured I don't know what a DJ does, but I'll just act like a DJ. I'm in a movie. This is what a DJ does. I'm just gonna and 2 weeks later I wasn't living there anymore, and the whole bar staff beat me up, and I had to go to the hospital and got a big thing on my head from a cue stick, and that's a that was my big welcome to Vancouver. And the last part of that story is I get back upstairs at the end of the day after the Ali's come and I've gotten my money, and that was the big deal then too. For the first until I wasn't on probation, I was going to get $5 a shift, and then after I wasn't on probation, I would get $10 a shift, and I don't mean an hour, I mean a shift. So because this was like a hole in the wall dumpy place in Skid Row, they gave me a room upstairs. So I had it was like it was I had a hotel room upstairs, and I had a job, and I got $5. As far as I was concerned, I moved here this morning. I have a place to live, I have a job, and I got a beer. Because that's all I can afford.
Things are
So
looking up.
so I get upstairs and I go to my room. Now remember, I just spent 4.5 days on a bus. I've now worked an entire a day in the strip club, and I get upstairs and I'm like, "What the hell is that smell? It's like sour cream and onion potato chips or something." I'm looking
Oh.
around and I realize, oh wait, oh, it's me. Been sitting in my own stew for 5 days. And then I worked the whole night in a stinky, smoke-filled nightclub. So I'm like, oh, I gotta take a shower. So the first thing I realized is this hotel doesn't have showers. Then I realized they only have communal bathrooms on each floor, but they only have two bathtubs, one on the second floor and one on the fifth floor.
Ugh.
So I go to the fifth floor one, and it's like rusted, and there's like a guy passed out in his own puke inside the tub. I go, oh god, I'm saying, welcome to Vancouver. I guess I'm not taking a bath here. So I go down to the next one, and it's the same thing. I turn the tap, it's like liquid rust coming out of it, kind of thing. I was like, oh man, all I want to do is take a shower and go to sleep. This is it's like 19-year-old me is like slowly turning back into the child. It's like I'm back in the suburbs. It's like I can't handle the big city. And as I'm climbing up the stairs, I just for a moment I have a thought. I get to the top of the stairs and I hear in my head, shh, shh, shh. I'm like, that's right. There's a shower in the club. And they stupidly gave me the key.
Don't even tell me.
I grab a towel, I run down to the club, I open up the door, I go into the club. Hey, I'm the DJ. I know where buttons are in this place. So the first thing I do is I flip the lights on because I didn't realize that when you turn the power on, to turn the lights on and the shower on and everything, you basically got to turn the whole control board on. And so now the lights are going red, green, green, blue, blue, green, red, red, red through the whole nightclub. And then I turn the shower on and the thing comes up. So I get up on the stage and I'm standing there and I'm standing into this. I'm basically getting into this champagne glass. I'm taking off my shirt. It's like I've been in Vancouver less than a day and I'm standing in a champagne glass about to take a shower, get some soap, and I'm like washing myself. It's like the best shower I've ever had. I'm scraping off all the bus trip and everything. And all of a sudden I hear what sounds like a metal can or something go boom, 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 scared the hell out of me. I turned, and there's a little East Indian janitor standing there with it. He had just dropped his bucket, and he goes, "Oh God, I hope you're not the feature next week." And that was my welcome to the big city. And I ended up getting a job at a real big, massive nightclub. There was 2,500 people it would hold. They had like 25 doormen a night kind of thing. It was like, and when they had the World Exposition, the Expo 86 in 1986 in Vancouver, they had built all these huge buildings. And one of them, after the World Exposition had left, they turned it into a nightclub. So I got a job there. And it was working there as a doorman. One night, two women approached me and they said, "Excuse me, are you in the film industry?" I didn't even know what that meant. I was like, no. She goes, "Have you done any acting?" I said, "Well, I've done acting in school and drama. I did plays and all that stuff. Yeah." She goes, "You have a very interesting face. I think we could probably do something with you. Why don't you give us a call?" And she hands me a card. These two women hand me a card. I look at the card, didn't even really pay attention what it said, stuck it in my pocket, and they walked away. And I thought to myself, that bunch of chicks just trying to pick me up, whatever, you know. I get home, I throw the card on my desk. A couple weeks later, I'm cleaning up all my paperwork and stuff, and I come across this card, and I actually took time to look at the card. And it turns out they're talent agents from a talent agency, and they were basically being honest. I went and I signed with them. By the end of the week, I was shooting a national commercial for Canada. My face was on billboards and bus shelters, and
Dude, that's
it's
like the
just,
best like turnaround story ever.
so it's just like that was in 1990, February 27th, 1990. I shot my first national commercial. That was, I had just turned 20 February 2nd. So I just turned 20. And I've got that commercial on my C Ernst Harth YouTube channel. It's funny to see because I just turned 20 and they've got a tattoo on my arm that says "Mom," and I'm playing a prisoner in a, it's for like the chicken council, for like the farmers that raise chickens. It's like, they have the pork board and the chicken board. So there's like a commercial for the BC chicken growers. And I'm basically a prisoner. This cop is taking me back to the police station because she's arrested me. But she's so hungry for this fried chicken that she stops at a restaurant to get herself lunch. And while she's eating her chicken, I'm sitting there with a glass of water and a slice of bread, and I got my handcuffs on. And I'm just like, watching her eat this chicken. I finally, she's like, as she's talking to the camera, she's waving her drumstick around. And I just lose it. I can't take it anymore. And I lunge in front of her and I grab the chicken with my mouth. And she goes, "Freeze!" And I drop the thing. And it was like so funny because I had no experience. I remember going to that audition. I didn't have a resume. I didn't have headshots. I had to get them. The agent had to take a Polaroid of me. I show up at this audition. They go, "Do you have a resume?" "No." "Do you have any headshots?" I give her this Polaroid that the agent took of me in the office 10 minutes earlier. And it's like, then they'd ask me for my slate. I didn't know, thank God I was auditioning with a girl who actually knew what they were talking about. And then I would just like do everything she did in the audition. And then I booked it. It was like, and my career has been like that. It is just steamrolled from there. Then I became an actor part-time. And while I got myself a job working as an office manager and started doing acting on the side. And then in 1996, 6 years later, I had done a short film for some students. It was it was in 94 when we did this. And it would have, nowadays they call them fan films or fan fiction or whatever. Back then it was just a bunch of people wanted to do a parody film of the Alien series, and the fourth Alien film hadn't come out yet. So they called it Alien IV ? And it was basically, if there was going to be a continuation of the Alien series, what would be the next story? And so it was like a half-hour short film kind of thing about the Alien series. And an actor friend of mine who was in that with me, he had unknowingly showed this to another actor friend of his. And this was like a serious, no budget kind of shot on a home movie camera kind of thing. But his friend, turns out he's in the midst of writing a feature script, and him showing him this little thing with me in it, he was so intrigued by my character that when he continued writing his feature script, he wrote the lead character with me in mind. And so all of a sudden, here I am 6 years later, working part time, doing acting on the side, getting small TV gigs here and there. Uh, I get a call that says, "Hi, a friend of mine wrote a feature script and he wrote the lead for you. Would you like to meet with him?" Does it
Wow.
happen? Really? And here's the funny thing, that film was the film that made me decide to, okay, universe, if this is what you want for me, then you got to take care of me, because I'm going to have to quit my job, because he's not going to give me 2.5 weeks off work to go shoot a feature film. He was barely able to accept letting me take an hour off here and there to go to auditions, never mind taking 2 weeks off. So that was when I decided, if I'm going to be an actor, I'm going to be an actor. And I quit my day job and became an actor and shot that film and never looked back. And that was in 1996. And that's the film that we just released in 2025, Joe Finds Grace. That's how long we've been working on that film.
I gotta say, I actually just finished that earlier this afternoon, and I gotta say, I wanted to talk about that because it's it's pretty innovative, man. Like, I mean, it's such an unique blend of like animation and then like in regular film. I mean, it's very breathtakingly visual. I mean, it's one of the coolest things I've seen in a while, to be honest with you.
Yeah, like when we started shooting that film, Joe Finds Grace, it was a basically a 16 millimeter black and white film. He had written a film, he wanted me to be in the film, and we were shooting it. It was never meant to be more than a 16 millimeter black and white film. And as we pursued it and went further in, we realized this is going to cost too much money, because if we want to get this in the theaters, we're going to have to get a blow up. That's going to be like $40,000. And then we still have to, and you start going crazy, because back then it wasn't just use your use your phone and make a movie. It was like, if you wanted to make a movie, you had to know what the hell you were doing, and you had to have the actual film equipment to go make the movie. It wasn't as easy as it is now. But it got to the point we realized a year and a half in that this was getting too expensive, and we can't afford to do it properly, but we know we will at some point. So we basically just put the film on the shelf, and it just ended up staying on the shelf for 14 years. Life goes on. And at that point, Anthony, my producing partner and the director, had seen a documentary with Keanu Reeves about digital filmmaking. And it was Keanu interviewing different filmmakers about the change from film to digital and what that meant as far as opening up the prospects of filmmaking. And he started realizing, wait, I could take that film that I have all those canisters of film, and I could send that. And we sent it down to LA to Cinelicious, and they did a beautiful 2K res scan of the film. We got the film back, and all of a sudden it was like, we'd never seen the film this clear, because we didn't even have dailies. We had every bi-monthlies, whenever we could afford dailies to see what the actual stuff we had shot. So to now have all of the film crystal clear in the computer, and now that there was editing software, because the original film, we had one of those Steenbeck flatbed editing systems that were in his storage closet. It was so hot, he was sitting next to his water heater editing this thing on this flatbed. So now everything was in the computer, and that's when he started to flesh out the story. And we decided, his real life is black and white. Why don't we make his flashbacks and his memories and his dreams in color, rather than, the actuality of it? So that allowed all of a sudden the film to take another jump into, taking the imagination and stretching it. And that was where Anthony's an artist, so he did all his own animation. So the director, Anthony's also who played Joseph, the lead actor.
Oh, is that who that was?
Yeah, so
All the prosthetics and makeup and everything.
Yeah, it's like 4 hours of makeup every morning,
I
and
was
he
gonna say it looked
directed.
good.
he directed the film like that. So there are many people that worked on that film that have no idea who Anthony is or what Anthony looks like, because that guy with that
They've only
face
seen
is,
him as Joe.
yeah. So he directed the movie, wrote the movie. He also starred in the movie, edited the movie, did all the animation for the movie, the sound design for the movie, and basically it's an Anthony Harrison production. And then I was more of the logistical producer, getting all the pieces together, and basically continuing on with the storyline. Once 2015 rolled around, we decided to move forward with this, and then we finished it in 2016. It kills me. The music we picked in 2016 in the all of a sudden that music is like all over social media, because the music we had chosen, we chose it in 20 music has put it on the internet for as copyright free music.
Mm-hmm.
So now whenever I go on social media, or I'm watching reels or I'm watching anything, I hear the soundtrack of our movie in everything now, 9 years later. It's a little bizarre. So if you've ever heard that music, if that music seems familiar, that's why. It's because it's all around the world now on social media and YouTube and reels and what have you. But the thing we liked about the film was it's black and white. It has the special effects makeup. It's very moody and slow, but there's also slapstick humor, almost like Charlie Chaplin type comedy. There's some dark moments, and then the stuff with the animation, and it's a special kind of animation that the way he's drawn it. It's almost like stop motion animation, because you're only seeing pieces of animation at a time, and it's all like tied together. It's very interesting editing.
It is very unique. Like that's one thing I liked about it. It's kind of like unlike anything I've ever seen. Like and it is. The thing I did like about it, as you were saying, it is. There is parts that are very dark and very kind of atmospheric and moody, but then it is kind of very lighthearted too, and it is a very good mix of that. Like I thought it was really cool. Where can people see that at? Are you
It's
ever
on.
gonna, like you're ever
We
gonna
have
put out like a physical release?
that's always been the hope. And when in talking with distributors, the problem with having unique stuff is people like to label things and people like to pigeonhole things. And when especially distributors, they like to know what they're pushing. And if you tell them, well, it's a comedy, but it's also a drama. It's got some scary stuff, but it's also got some funny stuff, and it's got the animation, but it's also black and white. You're like, yeah, we don't know what to do with that. And so it got to the point where the years were building, and it was getting longer and longer since we had finished it. And then finally we decided we're just going to we built a YouTube channel, and we just have it. So the channel where you watch the film on Braidway Pictures channel, that's where it's available. Anybody that wants to watch it can go to Braidway Pictures on YouTube, and Joe Finds Grace and our other film Exuvia that we finished just at the end of last year. We put that up there, and that's a coming of age little boy and the nanny that comes to work for him in the summer they spend together. And that turned out to be a bit of an experiment for Anthony and I, because we basically decided to see if we could crew the entire men's. Anthony and I were basically the only crew on that entire film. Yeah, so we decided to release Joe Finds Grace ourselves. So we created the Braidway Pictures YouTube channel, and that's where we put Joe Finds Grace. That's where we put our other film that we released last year called Exuvia. And that was an experiment to see if Anthony and I could produce a film ourselves as the entire film crew. And we did, and I don't recommend it, because if you want to have your brain in one piece at the end of it, trying to do every film job there is and split it between two people was a lot of work. But the film turned out well. We are both our lead actors got nominated for best lead performance at the
nice.
Leo Awards, which is the Academy Awards in BC. And our boy was 10 years old, and the fact that he got nominated in lead performance was pretty amazing against adults. So we were excited with that, and the film has gotten a good response on YouTube. I think we just cracked 7,000 views. So
Great.
uh, it's harder getting people to check out Joe Finds Grace just because it's so bizarre and people don't know what to make of it. The picture of the guy, they don't know if it's a horror movie about Elephant Man or what have you. We used to joke when we were filming Joe Finds Grace that we were it was as if we were remaking the Elephant Man, but we were reshooting it like a road movie made by Woody Allen. But
That's
then
a
we
good.
decided to throw some Scanner Darkly in there.
Yeah, that's a good
and
mix,
if you
though.
and if anybody could picture that, then that's what Joe Finds Grace is. And so, yeah, Joe Finds Grace and Exuvia are both at Braidway Pictures on YouTube. And I recommend checking them out. And if anyone does and wants to go to IMDb and rate it and review it and we're letterboxed or whatever, all that stuff helps with trying to get distributors. The more we can get people to, we got an 8.5 rating so far on IMDb, so that's pretty good.
I could tell you, I really enjoy Joe Finds Grace, and I'll definitely check out that other one. And I
Thank you.
wanted to ask you, man. I know you
Yes.
from roles like I'm a big horror fan, and I know
Yeah.
you. I know you from like 13 Ghosts as the Great Shot, of course. There you go. Oh, that's nice. Is that horror adorables?
Yes,
That's
it is.
that I'm actually I'm friends with I've had him on the show before, Johnny.
Yeah.
Yeah, Johnny Necro. He's but
And I've
I
got
know you're
mine.
from
I got Minor 49er horror adorable
I
on the
was just
back.
gonna say, I know you're from 13 Ghost. I know you're from you were the baby in Trick or Treat that
Yep.
gets mauled by the werewolves. You were a minor 49er. I mean, you're definitely you're very versatile. But I mean, I personally love you. I'm a big horror fan. I like seeing you in horror films. But I wanted to ask you, what's the easiest and most challenging thing about being an actor? And when you're in a horror film, is that kind of a different mindset when you're acting than from other genres?
Well, it's a different mindset as far as like with a horror film. It depends, first of all, on what side of the action are you. Are you the bad guy? Are you the scary person? Are you the one doing the scaring, or are you the one? So right there, it's your mindset. Am I going into work today knowing that I'm going to have to run and scream and be full of anxiety and freaking out kind of thing, or am I going to be the person creating that in the people? So that, as an actor, that's the thing with horror, because I've been on both sides of it, and it's draining. Like that, I did a film. It wasn't really horror, but it was an action film. It was called Crawl Space with Henry Thomas that came out a couple of years ago, and it was the first time that I was like a lead where I was like an action. I had like the last 40 minutes is like me and Henry Thomas fighting it out in the crawl space of a house, and I'll tell you that takes some preparation as far as psyching yourself up to be in that headspace all day where you're just like pummeling someone and going after someone and the thing I liked about 13 Ghosts, for example, was my character was all about uh, showing the emotion without saying anything,
I was
without
actually going to
necessarily.
say that. That's like my favorite part of a lot of your characters. You kind of, even when you play like quote unquote villain, you still bring some sort of like heart to it, which is it makes it all the better.
I always try to find the humanity in whatever character I'm playing, and that's why I so many times. I remember I did a film that's on YouTube. It's on my channel as well. It's called Resistant Virus. When we shot it, it was called Zombie Punch, but now it's out as Resistant Virus, and I play a guy who and basically becomes a zombie. But uh, it, even in the audition, they said you could see that he was dealing with the inner angst of the zombie not wanting to be the zombie, and it's like nothing is on one level. Other people at that audition, their only concern was is this a fast moving zombie or a slow moving zombie, and I was more concerned with the fact that this guy is dealing with the fact that he wants to stay a human, but this thing that's been injected into him is turning him into a zombie. And I think it's more like when I did Smoking Aces 2, Assassin's Ball, and I got to be one of the Tremor brothers. My character's name was Baby Boy Trimmer. And I remember the executive producer from Universal telling me that they thought of my character as a waste of space. They just thought, oh, he's just this big dumb guy. You know, he's like he doesn't add anything to the story. And she says, after you came in and you read for it, and we've seen you playing him now. She says the word you used, humanity. She says you brought humanity. It's like he's a bad guy. He's an evil guy. He's got swastikas all over him, and yet you're going, oh, he's so cute. And uh, I think a big part of it is that's just who I am. And it's hard not to bring yourself to every role. But going back to 13 Ghosts, the thing I liked about that, the direction that Steve Beck gave me, the director, was, excuse me, I want you to express sheer horror. I want you to scream blood curdling screams of pain and agony, but I don't want you to open your mouth.
Mm.
And so you're like, how do I get that across? And so it was like,
No, it
so
definitely comes across for
when
sure.
you watch the movie, you hear this bizarre, weird, you don't know, it's like a moaning, or you don't know what you're hearing. Well, what you're hearing is me screaming without opening my mouth and trying to express the pain I feel for what has been done to my mother. And sorry, just to go back to that again, when I got involved with 13 Ghosts, they didn't really even have the concepts of the ghosts fleshed out yet. Like, there are so many versions of 13 Ghosts. I probably have 6 or 7 different scripts.
Oh wow.
I think I have one written by James Gunn. I have another one. It's like they brought in all of these hired guns and these ghost writers and these guys that come in to, like, you know, pump certain scenes up and everything. So there's so many different versions. When I first got involved with 13 Ghosts, my character's name was Couch Potato.
Hmm.
And he was basically a guy who died at home watching TV, basically ate himself to death kind of thing. And so the concept was he had, like, his skin had rotted and there was holes in his skin and rats were coming out of his eye sockets and you could
Mm.
see rats crawling under his shirt and all that kind of stuff. And so that was the original concept. And then they changed it to, I was into BDSM and I was at a dominatrix. And so I had this dominatrix who was like a little person and she was attached to me with like a leather harness. And I basically kind of like rolled over and like squashed her to death kind of thing. And so then that somehow turns into, she's now my mother. She's still a little person, but now she's my mother. And let me just, I just want to, damn it, you know, I don't know where it is. I can't start digging for stuff. But what I was going to say is, if you see pictures of the Black Zodiac from that film, and you see
Mhm.
the book with all the different drawings of the different
Yeah, I
characters,
remember that.
the picture of my mother and I, it looks like they drew the pictures for the Black Zodiac based on the previous script, because
Oh,
they have to do all this stuff in pre-production. Because when you see the picture, I've got like these straps and these chains and like bondage gear on, and then she's like hanging off the side of me in this picture, which plays into the original, the version before, where I was like into bondage and she was like a dominatrix and she's hanging. So I don't know. It's so bizarre.
I'm kind of glad they didn't do that one.
Yeah, but there were so many different versions of all the ghosts, and even to the point that when you watch the movie, they have the ghost files on the DVD extras,
Mhm.
and it's F. Murray Abraham. It's like a short film where he's telling the backstory of each of the ghosts. And then if you watch the movie and you listen to the commentary, you have Steve Beck telling us the backstories of the ghosts. Well, the backstories that Steve Beck is telling us on the commentary is not the same backstories that are in the ghost files. It's like even while they were making the movie, we didn't really understand what the characters were going to be.
Hmm.
It was almost like they had a cool makeup. They had a cool design for the ghosts. We'll figure out the rest later. And you don't know it. I wish they had figured it out a little more beforehand, because I think that's the one part of the film that was lacking. Was I think it would have been nice to have a little backstory of each of the ghosts in the movie rather than as a DVD supplement kind of thing. It would have been nice if they, as they were presenting each ghost, we saw a little backstory of how they got to be in their cell. You get a little bit of the Juggernaut at the beginning, and you get a little bit of his story, but everyone else's, he's basically just saying it quickly as he's going through the book. Because I think there are so many long panning shots of hallways in the film. I think you could have taken a few of those out and added some backstories to the ghosts kind of thing. That would have been nice to have. I think then people wouldn't have spent the last 25 years going, I wish they did a series where they talked about the backstories of these
Well,
ghosts.
that actually leads me to my next question, believe it or
Yeah.
not. I've been hearing for a very long time that they've been trying to get a series off the ground. Do you know if there's any truth to that? And if so, would you reprise your role?
I would, for sure. I mean, I've lost 200 pounds since then, but I guess, ghosts can fall apart too. And but you see, that's the interesting question. Two things. One, yes, I've seen the same stories, and I've seen one of the filmmakers involved with trying to pitch this to Warner Brothers and what have you. I've connected with him on Facebook, and but I think it's just people that have been approached. They've written treatments or a breakdown of what they think, and they're trying to pitch it just like anybody else. And I don't think it's ever gone anything beyond that, except people start to drool over any mention of it. And then you get these people on Facebook and what have you, where they run these satires / parody sites where they put up a fake poster, and next thing you know, everybody has passed. Like there was a poster going around on Facebook a month ago. It was like 13 ghost stories. And
Yeah, I
like,
seen that. And that's actually what made me want to ask you that.
yeah, and that was from one of those parody sites where somebody just puts up a fake poster and puts it out, and they're gonna get hits. And next
See,
thing you
normally
know,
I could pick those out, but that one actually got me. Yes.
and it's because everybody wants it. And that's the second part of the equation, and that is, what are they going to do? Because my understanding is 25 years later, it's those ghosts from that film that people want to know the backstories of. It's not just another new random 12 ghosts, because if that's the point, then you can just make any film, make a new film. It doesn't have to be 13 ghosts. It doesn't have to be those ghosts. But if you're going to do a story about 13 ghosts, it should be the Hammer and the Juggernaut. It should be those, because that's what people have been intrigued with.
Yeah,
all
that's what
these
people
years.
want to see for sure.
And yeah, I would definitely want to be in there. I mean, I've been keeping the 13 Ghost light alive this whole time. It's like there's hardly ever any presence on the internet from any of the other ghosts. It's like I'm constantly banging the 13 Ghost drum, trying to keep that alive out there, because that film seems to have gotten more popular. Same with Scooby-Doo 2, Monsters Unleashed. Both of those films seem to have gotten more and more popular with each year, and now we're like another generation away from those films. So all of the parents that grew up with those films are now introducing those films to their kids. I don't know how appropriate 13 Ghosts is, but I get story after story after story. I saw that film when I was 6. I don't think I should have seen that movie. Messed me up. Yeah. So I get those kind of fan mail letters a lot from people that are just like, you messed up my childhood. I was like, no, whoever let you in the theater messed up your childhood. But no, I was gonna say that movie was an intense movie to make, because that house existed. It was built in a soundstage. It was like 2,500 panes of glass. It was like pure steel girdered metal, and 2 stories of this, and the walls actually moved and shifted.
Man, that's
and
crazy. I didn't know that.
Yeah, and it was glass. So just imagine every surface you're working on is glass. When I was in the house, we would be on glass, next to glass, glass above us. And now you're going to have an entire film crew and all the equipment sort of disappear, because you're going to see them reflected in every surface. So to sort of counter that, they almost overlit the thing so there would be no reflections. It was just like
Mm.
it was almost overlit. And then all the crew was like wearing black t-shirts and they were all crouched down in the corner and stuff. So my favorite thing I always mention is it's like a drinking game. When you watch 13 Ghosts, it's like spot the crew. It's like, because
I'm gonna have to go back and do
every
that.
day there's that one crew member who forgot to wear his black t-shirt, right? And there's like the one guy with the white t-shirt crouched in the corner kind of thing. So you see that kind of stuff in the film. But because the lights were cranked, it was so hot in there. And then they have to turn the fans off because it makes noise. So I was so thankful that all of the other ghosts had on tons of prosthetic makeup, and like the Juggernaut and the Hammer, they were more or less bodysuits. What they did was they built their makeup, their body makeup, the arms, the muscles, the hand, all that stuff. They built that onto the outside of like a diving suit.
Mm.
So the first thing they would do in the morning is they come in and they would put on this diving suit, and boom, now their makeup's done up to their neck.
Oh wow.
The hands, the chest, all that stuff, like with the Juggernaut and all the bullet hole, that was all just on a diving suit. And then they put all the stuff on the face, and that was another 4 or 5 hours of. So we would have to get there like 3 o'clock in the morning, kind of thing, be there while it. Same with the Scooby Doo 2. That was like a 7.5 hour makeup job because it
Holy,
was my
from
entire
160
body.
from
Because
90. Oh wow.
I had, like I said, on 13 Ghosts, I was couple pounds shy of 600 pounds. And then I lost just over 200 pounds. So then by the time I did Scooby Doo 2, the first thing they tell me is, we're going to have to build you a fat suit. It's like, I can't win.
I can't win, man.
But my wife kept reminding me, but you get to take it off at the end of the day. You're not bringing it home with you like you used to. So, but I had the fat suit built, but then underneath the fat suit, I had on like a cooling unit that it was designed for the soldiers in Kuwait, where it was like it would pump ice cold water in these veins that were throughout your body. And so I'd have someone carrying this refrigeration unit that was plugged into my side, so that was running ice cold water underneath. And then I had a fat suit over top of that. Then I had like a 35-pound air bladder stomach that velcroed to my chest and would hang down. So my stomach was all jiggly and hairy. And then I had to have the makeup covering my arms, my head, the wig, the teeth. Basically, the only part of me that was still me was there was a pinhole in the center of each contact where my wife could see my real eyeballs behind that. And so she'd be on set looking at me and she would, okay, there's my husband. I see you in there. Because everything else was minor 49er. And the great thing was, by the time I'd get to set to shoot, I'd already put in my 8-hour day. So now I'm in the overtime and I haven't even started working on set yet. And now multiply that by every day. It was a nice paycheck. As my wife likes to joke, she calls her wedding ring her Scooby-Doo ring.
That's great.
But
let me ask
okay,
you
go
this:
ahead.
what stands out in your mind as the thing or role that you're most proud of thus far in your career? Is there something that just stands out?
You know, I'm proud of Joe Finds Grace because of the way it came to me, and because it was my first lead in a feature, and it was my first, it was the thing that made me become an actor full time. And I've just lived with this thing since 1996 until now. So it's like, it's constantly been a part of my life and my story. But I'd also say, even though it was a small role, I'd say something like Capote, because it was an Academy Award nominated film. I got to spend time with Philip Seymour Hoffman before he passed. I got to see him work. I got to be part of that. And even though my character, Lowell Andrews, didn't have, I shot more stuff than that was in the film. That happens almost on every film. They shoot way more stuff than you ever see in the film. And so a lot of times as a character actor, you might have 5 scenes, and then the film comes out, you have 2 or 3 scenes. That's just the way, especially with TV, because it's all about time. And sometimes they just don't have another 20 seconds to spend on you. But just being part of that film and I have all these crazy children's films. Like I got to work with Scooby-Doo twice now. I've got to work with the Muppets. I've got the Air Bud films. Asterix and Obelix is one of the largest animated series in the world. It's been around for like 50 years, and I've now been the English voice of Obelix in the last two feature films. So, I've got that part of it, and then I've got all the horror films and all the crazy over the top monsters. And then to throw like an Academy Award nominated drama in the middle of that, it's just nice to have that on your resume. So, even though Capote was a small part for me, just being in that was memorable. Also, the film that means a lot to me, there's a TV movie, it was called Blacktop with Meatloaf, the singer, and Kristen Davis from Sex and the City, and Lachlan Monroe, who's another one of those actors who's been in like 300 things. Everybody knows who's in Scary Movie. He was the guy with the little penis. And for the rest of his career, that'll be how people remember
I'm sure that's what he wants to be remembered for. Be on his
exactly.
tombstone.
And the reason why that movie is because that movie, Meatloaf was an important part of my life, and that's a whole other story. But being in that movie, I had so much fun. I only did one day's work on it, and that's the thing with a lot of films is, especially as a character actor, they bring you in for 1 or 2 days. They shoot all your stuff in those 1 or 2 days, and then you go off again. And so it's like, even as even when it's a substantial part, lots of times they'll just put all your scenes together, so they bring you in for as short a time as possible. And so you really want to continue the experience, and a lot of times you want to own the copy of the film. And that film was shot in Canada at a time when we didn't have HBO in Canada yet, and this was an HBO film, and I wanted to see it, and I didn't know if I was ever going to get a chance to see it. So I thought, well, Meatloaf's a big name. He must have an internet or a website presence some sort somewhere, and maybe he's got a message board. Maybe somebody messaged him about this movie. I was just like so out there. I thought, I'm going to just take a chance. I went on and I found the official Meatloaf fan club, and they had a message board. And I went through about 6 months worth of messages looking for anyone that mentioned the movie Blacktop. And I found two messages. Only one had a return email address. So I thought, okay, I'm just going to go and send this out there. And I said, hi, my name is C Ernst Harth. I played the club manager in Blacktop. I see that you saw it, and I was hoping that maybe you taped it. And if you did, I'll pay for the shipping. I'll pay for the tape. If you could make me a copy, I'd love to see the film that I was in. And a couple of days later, I get an email. It says, oh my God, I'm so thrilled and honored to get an email from somebody that was in the movie. Yes, I did tape it, and I'd love to send you a copy. And sent me a copy. We started chatting back and forth. Turned out it was a woman in Pittsburgh, and she started asking me questions about my career, and I started sending her photos and anecdotes and stories because, as you know, actors hate talking about themselves. And so this went on for weeks, right? And then one day I get an email that says, grab yourself a coffee and click this link. I was intrigued by that. So I got myself a coffee. I sat down on my computer. I clicked the link, and it opened up the unofficial C Ernst Harth website. What I didn't know was that this woman was a web designer. She had taken in all the stories and all the emails back and forth that we had shared. She had taken all my photos, all my stories, everything that I had sent her, and accumulated it all and put it together and created like a website. And I was so blown away. And I said to her, why don't we work on this together and make this the actual official C Ernst Harth website, and then make this my actual website? I was so impressed with it. And we started working on that together. And in doing that, we started chatting and talking and getting to know each other more. And to make a long story short, next month will be 23 years of marriage.
Wow, man! Congrats. That's great.
That's how I met my wife. I went online looking for a video, and I found
That's
a
so
wife.
cool, man. That's a great story. Wow, that's
So,
great.
and my mom used to always joke. I mean, she used to always say to me, you're never going to meet anyone if you don't leave your bedroom. Well, guess what?
Well, you proved her wrong.
So that's the thing is, I have a story like that, or I have there's a meaningful experience with everything I've done. Most of the time, it has nothing to do with the actual film or the actual character. It's stuff related around it, or the time you spent with different actors on set versus what the actual job, the actual acting that you did is never as memorable as oh, that was the day that so and so came to set, and that was you remember all the backstories to stuff. And uh, that's what keeps you going in this business, because I'll tell you it's not just the work, because there's enough downtime to drive you insane if you didn't take away all the good stuff from it and just focused on all the negativity and the rejection and all the jobs you didn't get and all that kind of stuff. So it's nice to have these things, these moments that you can take away from all the different films you've worked on, because the fact that I've been doing this 35 years and I can still smile about it is,
That's a
I
testament
I
for sure.
haven't shot myself.
I got a couple more things I want to
Yeah,
ask you
yeah.
before we close here, and it's just kind of fun stuff, like that's not even really film related. I want to ask you, what do you enjoy doing in your free time that might surprise your fans? Is there anything?
Yeah. The thing that I do on my spare time that would probably surprise people is I am one of the world's top 250 contributors to IMDb for the last 22 years now. I have been one of the top contributors. I get free IMDb Pro and free everything from IMDb because I do this for them. So every year they give me free IMDb Pro. So when I'm not working, I even started basically that's my side gig, is when I'm not working, I'm updating people's pages, actors, friends, directors, new film projects that are coming to town. They contact me. I set up IMDb page for the business, or for the company, for the film, or for IMDb profiles for different actors. So I'll have actors who are like, I'll mention something about IMDb and I go, what's weird? It's like in the last few years, like a whole bunch of my old credits have just shown up all of a sudden. And inside, I'm like, it's like the amount of people who have
Oh,
no idea. I can meet somebody on a film set and start going down their IMDb page, and they start looking at me like I'm a stalker, and they don't even realize that I've put half those credits on IMDb. There's nothing I like to do more on a day when I'm by myself. I'll go to like Tubi or something, and I'll pick some obscure film that no one's ever heard of, and I'll just put it up on the screen, and I'll split the screen and put IMDb on this side, and I'll just start at the top of the credits and go all the way down to the bottom of the credits, just spend my day adding credits to IMDb. And I think I'm at about 650,000 credits that I've submitted.
dude, that's insane. Are you serious?
Yeah, and like thousands of biographies, and I've added thousands of photographs,
Wow, that's wild,
and
man.
it keeps me doing something business related. It keeps me in the know-how of knowing what's in town, what's shooting, what movies are coming out, what actors or who's worked on what. And you know you can stay involved in the business and still not be on set just by doing that kind of stuff, and by getting I've ended up in the special thanks of, so when you look on my IMDb page, I got a lot of special thanks credits. Those are usually from films that I've done IMDb work for. And so they give me a special thanks in their film. So yeah, I think that's one thing people would be surprised. They wouldn't think that an actor who's been doing this for 35 years, for example, do you know who Jim Beaver is?
I do not.
Do you ever watch Supernatural?
I watched the first like 3 or 4 seasons.
Okay, well, there was a character, Bobby Singer, who was
Oh, I know who
he's
that is. I know that
yeah.
character.
Well,
He used to say balls.
yeah, exactly. Well, he is one of the top biography writers for IMDb. When you go to IMDb and you bring up then a certain actor, he does biographies for actors from like the 20s and the 30s and the 40s and the 50s and 60s. He's a writer. He's in the midst of writing. He's been, I think, for the last 15 years, he's been writing a George Reeve, the original Superman. He's been writing a biography of him, and he used to write television series and what have you. And so he's one of the top contributors to IMDb when it comes to biographies. His name's always at the top of the list. So you'd be surprised how many character actors, especially who when they're on downtime, they're putting stuff in IMDb and doing stuff like that. So yeah, that's definitely something people would be surprised to hear.
Unreal, man. Well, last question, and
Yeah,
I wanted to ask you, can you give my audience any words of inspiration of any actors that want to come up, and can you give them any advice? Hmm.
yeah, yeah. First of all, keep yourself open because as you've heard from my story, just letting life live around you and being open to anything. You don't know who you're going to talk to. You don't know who, like when you're just talking to somebody at the red light, you don't know who the hell they are, but you make enough of a human connection with somebody, they remember you. Time and time again, I'd be working on a film and talking to some PA, and next thing you know, a few years later, he's now directing a movie and he remembers how nice you treated him when he was the lowly PA. So always keep yourself open. That's how I found a wife. That's how I became an actor. That's how I ended up on the other side of Canada. It's like all the things in my life, just because I've kept myself open to the universe and to things happening. And also, like, if you're into horror films and you want to get into horror films, what I've done is I've joined so many horror communities for like Facebook, for example. There's so many groups. You get involved with the horror filmmakers. Just get involved with being. Next thing you know, you're an extra in a film. As people are doing a zombie film, then you get a bunch of people who do. There's always, if you just look for the opportunities, you'll find them. And once you get onto a film set, and you might be not working for money, but you're getting to do what you want to do, and that's act. And now you're meeting with like-minded people. Next thing you know, they're going to get together and do a thing next weekend, and so everything builds. The biggest thing is just don't limit yourself, because everybody in the film industry looks like somebody in real life. People have this idea that everyone has to look like a model. Well, I clearly don't look like a model, and I've been
Nor
working for
do I, sir.
35 years. I mean, so you're looking for a model of a globe.
Same here, buddy.
Yeah. Um, but no, I have always told people, just, don't get down on yourself. Just look for opportunities to do something, short film, work on scripts. Even if you want to be a writer, just write. Something will come of it or nothing will come of it, but the more you write, the easier it is to write. And the same with the acting. But more than anything, I just say, keep your eyes open to things around you, because you'll be amazed what can happen to you in life. And if you want to be an actor, just put yourself in the position of being around actors, being around filmmakers, being, you want to take some classes, take some classes. Just don't expect anything to come out of those classes except, an opportunity to, to act. So many people, they're like, if you take, there's a lot of shysters and stuff. They'll say, like, for $500, you take my class and you'll get to sign with this agent and you'll get to do this. You never take an acting class. You never sign with someone expecting anything out of it. You're looking for an opportunity to act. That's all an acting class is. I've tried taking acting classes and I've ended up beating myself up, because I would be like, start questioning that I don't know what I'm doing, because this acting teacher is trying to tell me to do it this way. And it's like, well, I haven't done it this way for 30 years and I've got a career, and now I start questioning everything I've ever done, and maybe I don't know what I'm doing. And it's like, don't allow people to get in your head. Believe in yourself and just keep yourself open to the universe, and good stuff happens.
Thank you,
And
sir. That's sound advice.
yes,
Thank you so much for being on my show, man. Everybody, check out Joe Finds Grace, and where can we hit you up at on Instagram,
yeah,
Facebook?
you got. I'm on Instagram and Facebook. If you just put in C Ernst Harth, it's there's only one C Ernst Harth. Anyone who says they're C Ernst Harth and they're not me, they're lying, because there's no other. So on Facebook, it's CEHARTH, and on Instagram, it's just C Ernst Harth. And like I said, I have C Ernst Harth channel on the C Ernst Harth CPPB Entertainment. But once again, just put in C Ernst Harth, you'll find my channel, and that has all the different. If I'm in a movie and that full movie is on YouTube, there'll be a link to it on my page. If I'm in a short film or a music video and it's on YouTube, that stuff is all on my page. And so you can find that, and Braidway Pictures on YouTube is where Joe Finds Grace and Exuvia can be found.
Well, thank you very much, sir. It was a pleasure. You're truly a delight to talk to. You got to come back again sometime. And
Yeah,
thank you so much. It was great talking to you, sir. Peace and
you
love.
too. Thanks a lot. Bye bye.
Take care, buddy.